Hello, everyone. My name is Lilian Silva. I'm the forage specialist at Clemson University, and today I'll be talking briefly about grazing management. So let's get started. So, generally, something that's very important to think about when we are starting planning our grazing management is to meet the plant and animal requirements. So when we're talking about plant requirements, we're thinking about how we can make sure that we're going to allow the plants to restore their energy reserves over time, and also make sure that we're maintaining the growing points and and leaving behind residual leaf area. And some of the main points in terms of the animal requirements is what are the animal categories that we are going to have on our herd at that given time, because then we need to know the requirements in terms of protein and energy that they need, and how we are going to be able to manage our forage quantity and quality to meet those requirements and support the gain or the maintenance requirements of those animals. So when we are going to plan the forages species that we're going to use, we need to look at the site location, the farm location that we have in terms of soil type, climatic conditions. Then if those would meet the animal requirements in terms of the quality that forage has, or even the quantity that we expect to have from those forages, and also the level of management that's required and the skills as well. So for example, when we're using a grass versus a legume, legumes require more um, management skills, higher management skills, because they require high fertility, higher pH, and also we need to be managing the grazing uh, properly to assure that we are going to have persistence of those legumes. And also, when we have grass legume mixtures, we need to make sure that we're favoring both species and not having one overpower the other one. Then, when we talk about forage management, there are a couple of points that really are the ones that we would be thinking about, which is how often and how intensive we would be grazing. So for example, on the top picture here, we have an area that has been overgrazed versus on the bottom picture here on the screen, we have an area that the animals are not struggling as much to be able to consume enough forage on a given day, because they have enough there. So this is a balance that we need to be thinking about, how to balance that frequency with the intensity that we need for a forage species or for a mixture on a pasture. So when we are going to think about that, those 2 points, what we are doing is that we can play with, actually we can adjust the stocking rate to be able to optimize gain per animal or gain per acre per area, which are represented here on the axis of this graph. And we see here that there's a optimum area that's showed here. So on this area, and I forgot to mention that this line here is the availability of forage area, and then this one would represent the gain per animal. So on this optimal area, we have enough forage to optimize that gain per animal. So we're would be having a good gain per area as well. Then when we talk about grazing, we have different methods that we can use. So one of them is using the continuous stocking. That's when the animals have access to an area for a longer period of time, and they will have access to the whole pasture and stay there, and as opposed to a rotational stocking that we would subdivide the whole area into paddocks, smaller paddocks, and then be able to rotate animals throughout the season to the next to the next paddock, allowing the plants to have a resting period. So let's pretend that we have 4 paddocks on a farm, and we're going to be rotating the animals every 7 days. So at the time that we had to return to the paddock number 1, we would have given that paddock 28 days of rest. So those plants could have grow and recuperated the energy for themselves to allow for a better persistence of that pasture. Um, so when we have stocking rates, continuous stocking, having a high stocking rate sometimes can be damage to the growing points and the plant reserves that are stored, and that compromises their stem persistence. On the continuous stocking, something that's really beneficial besides being able to really give proper resting time for the plants is also that we're able to have a better nutrient distribution on that area, just because the animals will stay for shorter periods of time on one area, so they will tend to distribute the nutrients better on those smaller areas than they would have if they were spending all the a longer period of time on a single area as on a continuous stocking. Then we also have what we call creeping grazing, that it's a pasture that we would have a better quality area adjacent to the regular the usual pasture, and have a creep gate that only the smaller animals, the calves, would have access through it, and then be able to graze that better quality forage to meet their requirements of nutrients better with a higher quality for their diet. Another management we can use is strip grazing, which just consists to having a temporary fence that we can move the animals forward and give them smaller strips at a pasture at a given time, and this helps us to the quality of the forage that we're going to be offering them. This can be used in several different ways, and usually we're trying to really give a better quality of forage for them, and this can even be used when we're stockpiling forages as Bahia grass or Bermuda grass, and allowing the animals to graze that material over time. Then we can also use this concept of first and second grazers. So the first grazers will be the ones that will have access to a pasture first, because they have higher nutritional requirements. And then when we move them to the next pasture, the second grazers would come to this first pasture and consume what was left there, and this would be the category that have lower nutritional requirements at that time. And this would allow us to really make sure that we are giving we are meeting the needs of different categories of animals or different of animals. So this concludes what I had for today for this grazing management video. I appreciate you watching this video. My email is here on the screen. If you have any questions, please contact me. We also have several agents from the Livestock and Forages team through Clemson that are available to help you with your questions. So please refer to us on the extension service to with any questions that you may have regarding any of these or other issues on your farm. Thank you so much. I'll see you on the next Forage